Now we have got the basic hands-on on the iOS application. Now let's go ahead. Let's try to understand how multi-controller environment works in the iOS application. Why multi-controller environment is needed. So for that, we'll be creating a new folder in the session progress. We're going to name it as Tabbar demo. Now we will be creating a new fresh project in this folder. So I say create new project, single view application. I say project 2. I will target for iPhone only, and I will say create. Now let's discuss first what is multi-controller environment. If you have a website, everything is on a single page. Is it easy to understand? Or if you like a website which has various sections like home, about us, services, contact us. So the menu bar helps us to get the required information in a minimum effort. So multi-controller environment, or I would say multi-section content, is always user friendly. So similarly it goes with the apps. If you have a single controller with a single view, everything on that, when the content is huge, you need to segregate them in a various section so that it becomes easier for the user to get to the content. Now in terms of mobile architect is concerned, imagine a window, there's a wall. We'll take an example of a valet park. Okay, now that guard is responsible for parking the cars. There's a window, or I would say there's a wall. Okay, on that wall he is allowed to inject only one hook. So if he has only one hook on the wall and there are 10 cars he want to manage, he will put the keys, all those keys in a single hook. So if someone wants to request a key 4, he might have to remove some keys, have to adjust some other keys. So the guard is able to achieve its task, but it's not user experience, right? The ideal way would be that the window have as many hooks as possible and each hook contains only one key so that it becomes easier. But we are in a scenario where wall will have only one hook. So in that case, we inject the one hook, but that hook contains a sub hooks like a key holder. Now that's called multi-controller environment. So in this case, Windows says I want to accept only one controller. Now what if that controller can hold array of controllers? Oh wow, I've cracked it, right? You got it. That's how multi-controller environment works. At the root level, if you inject the array of controller, it's a multi-controller environment. In a previous project, we were injecting the single controller. That's why it was called single controller environment. So in order to achieve multi-controller environment, we have two data structures. One is called UITABBARCONTROLLER, and the second one we say it's a UI view controller. UI navigation view controller. So UITABBARCONTROLLER you can imagine as a fixed length array, where once a tab bar gets initialized, whatever controller are associated are fixed. You cannot add or remove a new tab. Whereas UI navigation controller is an array of mutable controllers where you can add and remove the controller on demand. But to initialize UI navigation controller, you need at least one controller so that it comes to know, okay, this is a root controller. I can add on top of it and I can remove it, but I cannot go beyond this. So a controller hierarchy is like a stack. You can keep on putting one over the another. Clear? I know it's a bit tough, but then this is the way it happens. Okay, we'll start doing it. So right now we have a task that we need to have 3 sections in our application. So that means we need 3 controllers. By default we have one controller. Now when I go to multi-controller environment, I try to create folder structures so that it becomes easier for me to manage the code. Now when you go in samples, you will find there are folder structures which were created. Each folder structure has model view controller. So each section can be a MVC within itself. So in order to segregate code properly so that management of the project becomes easier, we divide each section in a separate folder. So I add apps, gallery and home. We also add global folder with all the global classes. So when I add this, I get the folder structure created. So there's an app, there's a gallery, there's a global and there's a home. Now AppDelegate.h and m goes as a global classes. So I view controller, I'll add them as a home section. So I insert them inside the controller folder which is inside the home section. So this is the way I got it. Now I need 3 controllers because I have 3 sections. So I'll be adding a new file. So this time we'll be creating a new classes. So for the first time we'll be creating a new class. So right click on a respective folder, I say new file. Xcode opens the templates of classes, or I would say template of files. I say I want to create Cocoa Touch file. It's an Objective-C class. I'll say next. I want to create a subclass of UI view controller and name it as apps view controller. Always suffix view controller for controller classes, view for the view classes and model for the model classes. So when you see the class name, you should able to identify whether it's a controller, model or a view. Okay, so this suffix will help you to identify the classes in a proper can. So I say next and I say create. So I've got my app control. Now similarly I will create a controller for gallery also. So I say new file, Objective-C, I say gallery controller and I say create. So I got 3 controllers. I need 3 icons because each tab is a combination of a controller, an icon and a title. So title I can write hard coded, but for icons I need images, right? So I right click, I say add files, go to my samples folder. Inside my sample folder I'll find something called tab icons. There we have 3 icons. So I've got entire infrastructure ready. Now it's time for me to inject at the root level. So I'll go to AppDelegate. I'll import 3 files. I say import view controller, where I need an object of view controller. I need gallery and I need apps view controller. I'll be creating a property of UI tab bar controller. And I say, so in previous exercise we had view controller as a base controller because it was single object. Now I need an array of controllers. So I need to create a data structure which holds array of controllers. So I'll create UI tab bar controller and I'll say void create sections. So I'll say create tabs, that's much better. So I'll create and I will implement this method. Now obviously I have to set up everything out here. So I say self.window So I've initialized the window with the full screen. If you don't know about the iPad and everything, that we'll cover later on. So I've initialized with the full screen. I hope everyone knows why. Because we need all our subviews to be interactive enabled. Then I'll call create tab where tab bar control will get created. Then I'll say window should have base controller, and last I'll say window make key and visible. So I've set up this MVC architect. Now let's see how to create tabs. So I'll be creating a mutable array so that I can use a for loop to add controllers to this array. I say array of controllers. I'll say ns mutable array alloc init. Now a tab comprises of a controller, an image, and an email text. So I will be creating a general base abstract class object saying tab controller so that I can initialize with the respective controller. I need an image which I say then I need string. I say tab title. I'll be using for loop to fill the array. So I say depending upon the index I'll be assigning the values to these variables. So I say switch I. My first tab represent home section. So I have home. The name of the image is home.png, right? So I say home.png. Similarly, I want to have case 1, case 2 for 3 sections. Case 1, case 2. In case 1, I'll initialize with gallery view controller because I want to have gallery section. Yeah. The third will be apps view controller. I say apps. So there are 3 sections. So depending upon the index of the I will assign the values. Now if I add all these 3 variables to the array, I will get array of 9 objects. That's not right. I need only array of 3 objects. So now I have to bind these 3 variables together so that a composite object gets created. So every controller, I would say every UI view controller object has a property called tab bar item. Whenever you associate values to a tab bar item, and if that controller gets associated with the tab bar controller, those values will come into effect. So I say tab controller is nothing but my UI view controller only, has a property called tab bar item. Tab bar item has property called title, and I say tab title. Similarly, I say tab controller dot tab bar item dot image equal to tab image. Now your tab controller has both this property associated. Now you can add to the controller by saying add object. So after this for loop, you got array of controllers. Now you are ready to create the base controller, which in this case is UI tab bar controller. And UI tab bar controller has a property called view controllers, which takes ns array. So I say, so array should be array of controllers, which we already produced. Perfect. So this is how we set up a multi-controller environment. So let's run and see. Are you guys excited? Absolutely. You will see how this is a base architect for your iPod application, for your contact application. The application which you see on App Store, which has multi-section. Oh wow, it's home, gallery, apps. So this is a tab bar and the icon. Now if you see the effect is built in by the iOS. So a lot of features have been added by the iOS for you free of cost. So you can create n numbers of tabs, right? So I guess if you want to create 10 tabs, you'll say, yes, I know how to create them, right? Create a controller and then associate them. Now, before we go ahead, let's have a different color for different section, right? So we'll be implementing init function for every class. Now you can get the init function directly on the right hand side. If you see there's a code synapse, okay, you just type init and it will say objective scene. You can drag and drop and you get init function implemented for you. Cool, isn't it? But try to write the init function on your own for some time and then you can use the Xcode IDE to help you out. Now I want different colors for different section. So I say self.do background color equal to UI color. I say first section I want bright gray. I will copy the entire signature and go to the gallery.am. There is something called init with nib name. We are not concerned. We are concerned with this. For images, I'll put white color. And for this controller, I'll put yellow color. So I have 3 different sections with 3 different colors. Let's see. Oh wow, I got a gray color. I got a white color. I got a yellow color. So it's really very cool, right? Now we'll display the content on the home screen, then we'll display the gallery content, and then we'll move to the apps content. So in gallery, I need to display text. So I'll be displaying the information about myself, right? So I need 3 labels. So we're going to demonstrate labels in this section. So I need 3 labels. So I'll be doing a bit of copy paste so that it makes the tutorial more faster. And as we have done a detail, right? So we'll go to some classes. I have a ready-made project where I have declared some view controllers label. So I've declared 3 UI labels out here. So I'll be declaring them here. Then I'll have a method called load page. I'll say load page. Then I'll go to the .m. I have load page function implemented. I'll copy it and I'll paste it. Now it's a very simple method. What we have done in a previous exercise, same thing has been done here, but instead of creating only 1 label, I'm creating 3 labels. Now header label, I've allocated and assigned the frame as per my design. I've told background color to be clear color. I've set the font of header to be 25. The text is nimap info tag, and I've set the center alignment so that nimap info tag appears to be horizontally center aligned. I have a body label where I've set the frame, I've set the font, which is not a bold, I've set the text, whatever I want to write. Now there is something called number of lines. Now it's very interesting. Labels by default only will be displayed in a single line, and if it's not able to display the content, it will show ... Now my content of a body is very big, so I've set the height to be big, but I have to tell the label that please apply multi-lines. So when you say number of lines equal to 0, it will go to infinite line and try to apply a line breaking algorithm on your text till it reaches end of the height. And if text is long beyond the height, then it will show ... Perfect, right? So number of lines is very important to have multi-line text displayed on the label. Then I have footer. In footer I've defined the size, everything, and I say text is thank you. Let's see how it runs. Oh wow, I've got it. I've got nimap info tag displayed as bold, then the body text in a multi-line, and thank you with a smaller font at bottom. Wow, that's perfect. So I'm getting used to making a sophisticated apps. Wow, and so simple. Similarly, I'll say the gallery. In gallery, I need to create UI images. I want to create UI image views so that gallery can show me the images. So the second tab of my application demonstrate image, right? So I need to create images, right? So I have to first import the images in my project. So I'll go to project 2. I say let files. I'll say in samples I have something called images, and I'll have these two folders. So I'll add it. So I've got the images, right? They're all in JPEG format. iPad will take it later on. First we'll concentrate on the iPhone. So I'll go here. I'll be creating 6 UI image views because I will display 6 images. I will have a load page method to be declared. So I say load page. I'll go to the implementation and copy the entire method. And implement it. And I say self load page. Now I need to create 6 model class for my 6 UI image view. So I've created iPhone 1 to iPhone 6. Obviously you can use an array of images and can reduce your code. But to make things simplified for time being, we're gonna create this way. I'm gonna have image view, in the image. I set the center and an array. Similarly, we're gonna do this way, right? Now we'll run the project and we'll see the second tab. Oh wow, it's beautiful. You can see our training centers images out here. So these are my gallery images. I have 6 images to display. I have displayed them. So I have home which displays the content about us. I have the gallery which displays the images, and now we'll display the apps, right? So if you see, I have done a lot of copy paste, but you try to do it on your own. You have the tutorial, you create your image object, you create your first image view object, set its center, try and run, adjust your center as per your look and feel, and try it out. Perfect? Cool. So now we'll move to the most important UI component of the iOS called UI table view, which we will be implementing in apps view controller. So let's close this project and create a new folder.